A week ago, I did a TV log of HBO's big hit Sex and the City, and though I was originally to give this to you all once I had done that, but unfortunately something happened, and now, of course, I finally got to revisit this on Max. Now I can finally give you my review of it. Here's my review of Sex and the City, the movie. This is Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. So, greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. My name is Dual, better known to you as the Big D, and this time around I bring to you a review of the 2008 rom-com Sex and the City, or Sex and the City, the movie as it was advertised. Released by New Line Cinema, written and directed by Michael Patrick King in his feature film directorial debut. And of course, he was best known for directing and writing for the series itself. It's a continuation of the series, which ended 4 years prior. This film was released May 30th, 2008, just over 4 years after HBO had ended the series. Film features, of course, Sarah Jessica Parker, Kim Cattrall, Kristin Davis, and Cynthia Nixon, returning as their characters from the series. Carrie Bradshaw, Samantha Jones, Charlotte York, Goldenblatt, excuse me, she got married, and Miranda Hobbs, and of course focuses on their lives in New York City. This film was really a big success and what have you, despite getting mixed reviews. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the story. Taking place a few years after the events of the series itself, Carrie is now in a committed relationship with Mr. Big, and they are viewing apartments with plans to move in together. Carrie falls in love with a penthouse far from their price range. Big offers to pay for it. Carrie offers to sell her own apartment, although she also fears that she would have no legal rights to their home in case they separate, as they are not married. To quell her fears, Big suggests they marry and she accepts. Charlotte hires her longtime friend Anthony Marantino as the wedding planner. Carrie shows Anthony and Charlotte the vintage suit she plans to marry Big in, but no one except Carrie loves it. Carrie is asked by her Vogue editor Enid to do a spread for Vogue called The Last Single Girl. She gets to dress up in fancy couture gowns, as gifted a gown from Vivienne Westwood, which she decides to wear instead of her suit. The ensuing publicity of her engagement blows up her small wedding to a big affair, which makes Big increasingly uncomfortable. Miranda, who has settled down in Brooklyn with Steve to raise Brady, their little boy, together, he has been so busy with work that she has not had sex with Steve in 6 months, a half a year. When Steve confesses he has cheated on her, Miranda is devastated and immediately leaves him. At Carrie and Big's rehearsal dinner, Steve tries to reconcile with Miranda, but she is still upset and tells Big bluntly that marriage ruins everything. And if that wasn't enough, on the wedding day, a stressed out Big cannot go through with the ceremony, and as a devastated Carrie flees the wedding, Big quickly realizes his mistake and catches up with Carrie, who furiously attacks him with her bouquet in the middle of a one-way street. Yikes. Miranda tells Charlotte that she may have upset Big and thinks she should tell Carrie. Charlotte tells her not to, as Big has always had doubts about marriage. To console Carrie, the women take her on the honeymoon that she had booked to Mexico, where they de-stress and collect themselves. Upon returning to New York, Carrie hires an assistant, Louise, to help her manage her life. She gets her apartment back, and Louise helps her put up her website. Charlotte, who is married to Harry and has adopted a Chinese girl named Lily, learns she's pregnant. She is fearful that something might happen to her baby, but Carrie reassures her. On Valentine's Day, Carrie and Miranda have dinner, where she tells Miranda that reading the Vogue article about her and Big's engagement made her realize that she had become so consumed with the wedding that it was not about her and Big anymore. It was all about her. Miranda then confesses to Carrie that she made Big upset and doubtful at the rehearsal dinner. Carrie is furious that she had ruined her wedding. After a few days, Miranda gets Carrie to talk to her and begs for her forgiveness. Carrie asks that she does the same for Steve. Miranda attends couples counseling with Steve and she reconciles with Carrie and eventually Steve. Meanwhile, Samantha is now living in Los Angeles to be with Smith, but often flies back to New York City to hang out with Carrie and the others. As she returns to LA, she is shown to be lonely, with Smith constantly shooting films from morning until night. Watching her sexy neighbor Dante have sexual flings, she buys a dog, overeats, and goes shopping to distract herself. Finally admitting she misses her old single life even though she loves Smith, she breaks up with him and moves back to New York. Meanwhile, Louise quits her job to move back to St. Louis to get married. Alright, for the final act and the ending, you know the procedure. You have 5 seconds to stop this video. Go to the description box below. Fast forward to the time below. If you've seen the movie already, please continue. Okay, you've been warned. Later, Charlotte encounters Big, leaving her so outraged that her water breaks. Big takes her to the hospital and stays there until baby Rose is born, hoping to see Carrie. Harry tells Carrie that Big would like her to call him, having written to her frequently but never receiving a reply. Carrie soon finds Louise's files that he has sent her many emails, letters copied from books she read to him before their wedding, culminating with one of his own where he apologizes for screwing up and promises to love her forever. Carrie goes to the penthouse Big had bought for them to collect a pair of brand new Manolo Blahnik shoes. If I mispronounced that name, I apologize. That she had left there. She finds Big in the walk-in closet he had built for her, collecting the shoes her himself, and they finally reconcile. After reflecting on how perfectly happy they were before talking about marriage, Big proposes to Carrie using one of her crystal encrusted shoes in place of a ring. They marry alone in a simple wedding in New York City Hall, where with Carrie wearing the simple vintage suit. Miranda, Samantha, and Charlotte turn up to surprise her, having been called by Big. End of story. So, what did I think of Sex and the City, the movie? Well, I am going to say I enjoyed it just as much as I thought the series was actually good. This was a really big surprise and what have you. Upon its release, many critics called this film an extended episode of the series. With a runtime of 145 minutes, that's almost like seeing 5 whole episodes together, which means almost 2.5 hours. Anyway, the film was a big success and what have you. It managed to make the biggest opening ever for an R-rated comedy, surpassing American Pie 2, and for an actual romantic comedy, surpassing Hitch, and also for a film starring all women. Of course, that would hold the record until Deadpool and its sequel surpassed it, and what have you, but I'm getting ahead of myself. This was also the 5th highest opening weekend for an R-rated film, behind The Matrix Reloaded, The Passion of the Christ, 300, and Hannibal. But again, of course, that soon would be surpassed by Deadpool and its sequel. Anyway, it became the highest grossing rom-com of 2008, going on to make 415 million, to 418 million worldwide against its $65 million budget. The film sits at 49% on Rotten Tomatoes, saying the film loses steam in the transition to the big screen, but will still thrill fans of the show. Definitely will and what have you. Variety said the film feels a trifle half-hearted, while the LA Times says film tackles weighty issues with grace but is still very funny. And well, the reviewer for LA Times praised Michael Patrick King's works, saying very few films are willing to go to such dark places while remaining a comedy in the Shakespearean sense. The New York Daily News dubbed the film a great reunion and was happy with the return of the "oh my god, did they not just do that" moments, nudity, swearing, the unabashed love of human frailty, and downright wackiness, and all that jazz. Incredible. I know this has lots of stuff like you could get from any R-rated film, but it's sort of in a way worth a watch. I mean, if you are a fan of Sex and the City, then you may want to watch it. If I would suggest if you're a hardcore fan, or if you just like the series a lot. I want to continue. After this, there would go on to be a sequel released 2 years later, but unfortunately, it was a little bit of a disappointment and what have you. It did come to similar commercial success, but even larger critical failure, however. A third film was announced in 2016, but was ultimately canceled, and soon a new sequel series, and just like that, premiered on HBO Max, which of course is now Max to you. Anyway, when it got released on physical media in September of 2008, which included there were there were actually two versions: the standard theatrical cut as well as a special extended cut. So yes, there is an extended cut, but I've never seen it though. I've only seen the original theatrical cut of the film, and it's fine with me and what have you. So anywho, I thought Sex and the City the movie was not too bad, despite it has its issues and what have you, but nevertheless was still a fun-filled romp through New York and all those other locations. You know what I'm saying? Now, as for our cast, we have Sarah Jessica Parker back as Carrie, once again good just like before. Kim Cattrall back as Samantha, again good. Kristin Davis as Charlotte, still good as always, and Cynthia Nixon as Miranda, once again good as well. We also have Chris Noth as Mr. Big, whose real name is John James Preston, of course. David Eigenberg is Steve. Once again, yeah, he's still pretty good. Jason Lewis plays Smith. Of course, his actual name is Jerry Jared. And Evan Handler's back as Harry. And Willie Garson as Stanford Blatch. And there's lots of others. There's also Candice Bergen on board as Enid, and she wasn't too bad. And also former American Idol contestant and, well, one of the few big ones, Jennifer Hudson as Louise. Yes. Of course, now, if memory serves me, this was Hudson's second film after Dreamgirls a couple of years before. But there's a host of others and what have you throughout this film. So again, if you're into the Sex and the City show, I think you'll feel right at home with this movie as well. The score from Aaron Zigman wasn't too bad, and has a real big whopper of a soundtrack. That includes, well, a new song from Miss Hudson herself, plus Fergie, Sierra, and lots of others and what have you. There'll be a second soundtrack released the same day as the DVD release. So, anywho, Sex and the City, the movie, well, it may not quite be one of the best, but it's still a pretty good chick flick. So would I recommend it? I'd say sure, go ahead. I mean, if you want to see what happens after the events of the Sex and the City show, or if you are a hardcore completionist, if you to complete Sex and the City after the show, then yeah, watch it. But even if you are hardcore completionist, I'd say a one-time watch. So anyway, Sex and the City movie, give it a watch. But what did you think of the Sex and the City movie? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Join me next time when I bring to you the next episode of Wide World of Game Shows, where I'll be tackling the show Pick Your Brain. So I do hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, check out my reviews and such for these other, well, events. In the upper left-hand corner is my TV log on the Sex and the City show itself. In the upper right-hand corner is my spoiler-free review of a recent film that served as a prequel to HBO's other big hit of the 90s going into the 2000s, The Sopranos. And that's The Many Saints of Newark. Or if you would like to see my review of, well, one of the big films that, well, big R-rated comedies that opened big, well, before this came out, and that's my review of American Pie 2. And the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe. If you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., then I'm your guy. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.